Well, maybe, okay, you'll be along here before long. I'll call the meeting of the Franklin Redevelopment Commission to order, and we'll start off with roll call. Brian Debbie, Rob Reading, here. Bob Hukins here, Richard Wirtz is excused, and Keith Fox isn't here yet. And we also want to introduce Christy Ott, who is the school board representative on the Redevelopment Commission, and we welcome you, Christy. Thank you. Look forward to serving with you over the next 12 months, if not longer. We do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and conduct business, and the first item of business is the election of officers.
I move that we re-elect Mr. Yukon as president and Mr. Wirtz as vice president.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's okay to vote for yourself, Bob.
Okay. Well,
You already have to.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Yes, it's approved. And thank you for the confidence once again on that. We need a motion for the election of a secretary.
I'll make a motion, BJ Debbie, as secretary.
Okay. I'll second the motion. And any discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, BJ.
You're too busy taking my notes too.
That's right. Technology, okay. Moving on down, once again, we'd like to appoint legal counsel, and do I hear a motion for a reappointment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, with Rob H. Shafstoff. Okay, we have a motion, second. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's done as well. So we'll take care of this first of your business right now. Next item up is the approval of minutes for the December 18, 2018 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion regarding the minutes? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the minutes are approved. And any old business at this time? Chris, we've got some old business, but it's on down here a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'm just kind of put everything back on.
I'm going to just, there's a number of resolutions regarding just some operational matters. I'll just let you just run down the list of the new business items with Krista.
Sure, we have resolution 2019-01. This is our standard utilities and maintenance expenses for property owned by the RUC of up to $35,000, plus $500 for publication. And we don't typically use all of this, but this is the amount that we have appropriated the last couple of years. This is for basically the two parking lots that we own at the corner of Jefferson and Jefferson Street.
Set it at a high level, now we don't have to bring it back in.
Right.
Typically, we don't use all of it.
No, I think last year we spent maybe $12,000 total for.
Nor do we scramble to the.
No, no.
This is a public hearing matter. Probably the best thing to do right now would be to make a motion to read the resolutions 2019-01 through 2019-04 by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of approval of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that is approved. So now we'll conduct a public hearing for the 2019-01 resolution for $35,000 for utilities and maintenance expenses.
Exciting stuff.
Okay, given this, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion for approval of resolution 2019-01.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I do say aye, by the way. That is approved. Resolution 2019-02, Kristen.
So this is for our legal and financial expenses for the year. We typically have legal fees for documents, and then also publications, and then we also have financial review of the TIF district, and just to make sure that our revenues are on track and those types of things. So this is used for both of those types of expenses.
Okay. I'll open it up for a public hearing at this time. Discussion, questions, comments? If none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion for approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion regarding the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion approved. Moving down to item 7C, which is resolution 2019-03, the 1 million, well, I'll let you describe all that.
Sure, this is the resolution that would allow us to pay. There are 2 required bond payments that are the result of the 2015 TIP bond that was approved, and so these payments are made twice a year, and the total of those 2 payments is the $1,351,953.50.
That's the set amount each year, isn't it? This doesn't change.
Correct.
Okay, based on the amortization.
Yep.
And we need to do it in order to make the payments.
Yes,
but,
payments due February 1st.
Okay. I'll open it up for a public hearing at this time. I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion for approval of the resolution.
I think we need to pay our bonds. So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Going a lot at you, Christie, on the first one.
Just something on.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion, I say aye as well. Get a quorum on that. Majority. Motion approved, resolution approved. Okay, 2019-04, Krista.
2019-04 is for the grant for programming funds to the Franklin Development Corporation. So this was approved, not the resolution, but the agreement was approved at your December meeting. I did receive that grant agreement yesterday from Rob's office, so I have that as well, in addition to the resolution for your signature. But this is the actual resolution authorizing the expenditure of those funds for programming for this year.
That is a lesser amount than we've done in prior years, isn't it, Krista?
It is. Last year was $400,000.
Okay. And I know it was vetted out at the last redevelopment commission meeting that was held in December. Okay, I'll open it up for a public hearing. And close the public hearing and ask for a motion for approval of resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion approved.
So Krista mentioned the grant agreement. It didn't make your agenda, but that would be the same grant agreement as we've done in the past. If you'd like to approve that now, you could. If you want to authorize Mr. Hugan to approve it, do that also.
I move that it be approved and Mr. Gifford be authorized to sign.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion approved. All right, Krista, we've got talents on the deck here.
Rob, do you want
Well, as you know, RFD Franklin is proceeding and by my eyes, looks to be ready to go. So Lisa, Tally, and I talked yesterday, and we think in the very near future, they're going to be open for business, which means that we need to release our mortgage. And I thought we might talk about that for a minute. We could do this a couple ways. We could authorize Mr. Hugan and Krista to, well, once completion has occurred, we could authorize the president to release the mortgage. That could happen between now and your next meeting. There's other options as well. If you want to consider releasing it now, we could probably do that. I think that's probably a bit premature. But if we do, when Lisa and John advise us that they're done, if we can confirm it, then we ought to be able to release it immediately rather than waiting for another meeting. That's my opinion. You may have any questions on that. Lisa, do you want to say anything about that?
Good morning, I'm Lisa McGinn-Talley, and John, I want to thank the city for the confidence you've shown in letting us work on this project. It's been a work of love and a lot of sweat. I guess not sweat, so a lot of perspiration. But we are nearing the end of the project. I have a check in my purse to take over to for the plan permit, so we'll have the health inspection or health permission today, or certificate, and we need to get the canopy finished, and that's going to be this week, and some of the construction stuff picked up, and then I need to get a tree plan. So that's all staying between us and all our certificates. So that should be able to be completed quite soon. And then we'll finish getting the staffing, and hopefully you guys will have a good place to eat.
Rob, I don't have any problem if we can take action today to go ahead and do it. It's substantially done. My expectation is they'll follow through and finish up what they've already started there. So if it's okay, we'll just go ahead and take that action today. I guess it would allow me to sign, release some mortgage at some point in the next 30 days or so.
Yes.
And in order to do that, what do we have to have? A motion to,
To authorize you to sign the release upon completion.
How are we defining completion?
I don't have that memorized, but we've got it discussed in the agreement. It may be certificate.
I think it's substantial completion, which
Substantial completion.
I think that's.
you folks all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to authorize Vista to release mortgage upon satisfactory completion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion? Those in favor of approval of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you. Very good. Okay, 7F, Harbin/Hurricane/Eastview Roundabout Construction Inspection, Professional Services, Agreement with Crossroads. Marcus slowly making his way up to the front.
A little quicker than you are. I think.
Probably, yeah.
Good morning, for the record, Mark Richards, City Engineer, here this morning to ask approval of funding and preparation of a resolution for payment of professional services for inspection of the Arvin Hurricane Eastview Roundabout. That will go to bid in either late February or early March. We're going to request some community crossings funding for construction of the project. So we have to hold off a few weeks to get that done. We have to wait until that application call closes. The amount of the agreement will be $196,000. It will cover the typical inspection items, coordination with the contractor, preparation of record drawings, all testing and so forth. So it's very similar to agreements such as the one for the Upper Shelbyville roundabout. In fact, the amount is the same dollar amount. That's a cost not to exceed. They will bill us for only the costs that are incurred as part of the inspection, and we would like to be able to take this to the Board of Works for approval, subject to your funding of the project at the February 4th meeting.
So in order to do this, then we need to ask for direction with our legal counsel to prepare docs in order to have a resolution at the next redevelopment commission meeting. Mark, that's going to start when, roughly about April, May?
Probably start mid to late March.
They're kind of doing some preliminary work on it now, aren't they? The city is, or somebody is.
That's actually a sanitary sewer project that's going on out there to extend service down to Baskin Robbins. So,
Okay, so what we're looking for then is action, a motion for action to authorize legal counsel to prepare the documentation for presentation in February.
Second.
Is that Julie? All right. Good effort on that one. Any discussion?
That's standard Board of Works contract, but we're bumping it.
Yes. Okay. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Mark. And
What
here,
what are we talking about next?
you've got some activity going on.
See, I just wanted you to go through the exercise, that's all.
Okay.
Good morning, gentlemen. As you all are aware, we started last July actually July in 2017, when we had our last flood, and then the flood buyout area that we've been working on since then, to make way for an amphitheater, a park area, trails along the creek. And this is going to add to the destination that we've already established here in Franklin. Right after that July in 2017, we had 3 of the owners come to the city wanting us to buy, and we did, which was Hazak, Harris, and Hendershot properties. The Graham property, at that point, they couldn't find a place that they wanted to go to, nor did they really want to leave. And the city never forced that or never wanted any intentions of trying to make a business relocate. However, whenever the co-op property come up for sale, I approached the Grahams and asked them if that would be a place they would be interested in, and they went and checked it out, and they made an offer on the property pending BZA approval, Board of Zoning Appeals approval. They've gotten that. They have a body shop and an unoperable car lot, so they got the zoning for that. And now we're down to a piece where I'm hoping that the Redevelopment Commission is still interested in buying the property to finish the project. That project is, or that piece of property is probably the most important piece. There's no doubt it is the most important piece to make this a project that would be successful. And what we have come to, kind of a verbal agreement, is $850,000 for the property. The 2 businesses that are there, they are both very profitable, good businesses for the city of Franklin, the Wrecker Service and the body shop, to relocate the Hamilton Avenue, the co-op property. So there's a couple ways that could be done, talking with Rob Eagle. It's where the Hamilton property is, co-op is not in a TIF allocation area. So if we did it like we've done it in the past, we'd have to go through the exercise of creating a TIF allocation area. And that would take some time, cost more money to get that done, or we could just buy it. And that is what the Grants had soon do, is we just buy it so they can close on their property. They will have, in the end, when they buy this property, they'll have to tear down a piece of building, put it back together, put in a fence, build another complete building. I can assure you they'll have over $850,000 in it to make this move. They will put them in an area that won't be flooded. They'll be helping an area that I think needs some improvements. I just think it's a good fit for the city. There's Other reasons that we wanted to buy those properties, the flood water storage retention area, when you take those buildings down, there's quite a few that's going to give us more retention area for water. That will help in the downtown buildings that are getting close to flooding whenever they do flood. It gets all the big trucks out of the downtown area. We all know that I'm all for that. Removing an unoperable vehicle lot from the downtown, I think that adds to the beautification of the downtown to move that. And of course, the amphitheater and the park, and that just adds to our destination. So I think it's pretty important that we take a look at doing this. We do have Noah Albrecht from Stutesbury who's been working on some drawings. You might get up and show some of the drawings for the amphitheater that you put together.
Sure, Krista has it on the, which screen?
Which one do you want me to show?
Probably the,
While she's getting ready to do this, we originally acquired those properties. The condition was really just to kind of clear that floodway down there along the creek. And this is the key piece here because it allows us to expand. I think the amphitheater, am I correct in thinking that that's right on that property?
The stage part is sitting right where Michelle and Scott's office is at. And it just wouldn't work right without that piece of property.
yeah, so as you can see here, the corner is, the parking lots are going to remain on the corner of Jefferson and Jackson. But Monroe Street, as it crosses over Jackson Street, is where we would propose to make that street part of the park area. So it would still be open to traffic during the events or festivals, but for the most part, it would be part of the park. We see that being a special pavement that would come down into the area, which terminates there where that white dot is the amphitheater. I'll show you some pictures, yeah, where she's got the cursor. And we'll show you some pictures of a view of that in a minute. Around that area is a plaza area, kind of an approach space that would have some flagpoles. It'd be very visible from the street from Jefferson and downtown looking into it. We see this structure being an amphitheater kind of band shell, bigger facility than just a small park band shell that could be, not quite 2 stories, but like a pitched roof. And again, I'll show you some pictures of what we're envisioning, but it's not complete. Obviously, this is still very conceptual, so there's still room to move in this. To the east of the band shell going, the amphitheater going south, you'll see another strip there of what is pavement, which is behind the houses and behind, it's still within the property line. But we see that being really a paved area that, the intention is that this could become an area that could really hold the festivals, the farmers market, and special events that may be downtown. And so this lined up street here is where tents could be set up, trucks, food trucks, the farmers market trucks. There's room to back a vehicle up and open it up like you typically do now. We have some shade in there. We see that being very festive-like. So even during concerts or events at the park, this could become a supplement area on the side that could, again, be food trucks or maybe beer tents, or could be easily cordoned off for security and that type of thing as well. So the circle that you see, the egg shape, is it's a very flat site, and we estimate that you could, within that area and around the edges, it is surrounded by a trail network, so it's very walkable, and it connects into the Greenways Trail on the north side of the creek there. But within that area, we envision that you could easily get 3,000 to 5,000 people within that space on blankets and chairs, and then just randomly seated
listening to an event. We envisioned some trees around the edge of that circle as well, again, for some shade. The whole idea of this plan too was connectivity. And so from the north down on Jefferson, it would be easily accessible through the parking lot. And then from the south, as it comes up, and Krista, if you want to scooch up a little bit there, you can see where the new parking lot that's going in on the east side of Jackson, we expanded onto it through that space. The white building you see there is the, I can't remember what the name is, the auction house. And so it will remain and could become part of the facility at some point maybe, but yeah, we see it staying. But the parking lot is an extension. I never really have had a copy. I can't remember exactly how many parking spaces are in there, but it does allow for some additional parking, and also becomes another hard space, paved area for maybe other vendors or side stage area. There's a playground just to the west of that connects to that parking lot, so you have easy parking access to this playground. We felt that was important, and the mayor felt it was important too to have something there that allowed children during events that were going on, that parents could, when the kids get bored, the parents can, the kids can play on the playground, and it's accessible and it's right near the trail, and even during the day, it'd be very accessible again, just within the reach of the trail system around it. Throughout the edge of this as well, we put some not strategically located, but we located some other small park shelters along this as well as for seating. I know in the future there's thought that there could be a trail connection over the bridge abutment, the railroad bridge abutment, which again would become a great connection from the south and the trail and Blue Heron neighborhood and just again creating that connectivity, continuing that connectivity piece through the site along the edge. It would still be open during any kind of events. There would be no reason to, it would allow again for accessibility, and we hope that people would actually park somewhere else and jump on the trail and come in and enjoy the events going on at the amphitheater and the park. If you want to go over, there's a couple images that we picked up just to give you some views of what this could eventually look like. And that one is looking from the south, looking north, so you see the playground and looking north towards the amphitheater, so that's the open lawn space. And then this one is a view looking south, as you would see it from downtown, looking towards the amphitheater and then Events Plaza. And then there's one more over here that I'll have a mark it. Okay, you can see again the amphitheater and kind of the outline of that space. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or if you want to add to that.
The one parking lot is going to be built, I think sometime to be done by July of this year off South Main Street. So we can do this in phases, or we'll talk about in our next topic here. We can try to do it all at once. It just how the finances line up. But yeah, that parking lot there will be done in July. Also with Grams, we've met a date that they would be completed and moved out July the 9th of 2020. I know that sounds like a long time, but it's not. It's a year and a half. Time to go through the process, and they go through the building of a new facility and the remodel that they got to do. Time's going to go fast, and time to go through permitting with DNR and all the stuff that we have to go through and try to do the financing. That's probably adequate time to get it done. We hope to start tearing down the Paris property and the Ashley Logan property. We'd like to start tearing those buildings down this year, if possible, and have a plan ready, and then when grants removed, we could start real close to completing the project. Just a couple dates, I know we're not trying to target anything because it's just 2 dates, but something everybody needs to be aware of. 2023, that's our 200-year anniversary for Franklin, Indiana. So I expect there'll be some big events there with DEF and Parks Department. April 8th on 2024, for those of you that don't know, we are total eclipse right here in Franklin, Indiana. It's supposed to be the epicenter. And if you remember, like Franklin, Tennessee and those other cities, it was wall-to-wall people, so.
Who's got the eyeglass contract?
We're working on that. So anyway, I hope we have your support. We're almost there. I think this is a very important part to make this happen. I know that the Rams really we need to close as soon as possible so they can close on their property and get started on the remodel to make that July 9th date. So I guess what I'm looking for is to ask for, give Rob permission to move forward with the resolution, knowing we're not passing it today, but we got to move forward with that, so that's what I'm
We have to
asking.
have an EDA as well, wouldn't we? Economic Development Agreement.
Yeah. Whatever Rob says we got to have.
I have a comment and just another question, a couple comments. One is, I've been on this board 4 mayors now, and one of the things that we've tried to do, and I know Krista's been one of your goals, is the revitalization of the downtown area. And the garment factory took care of a big chunk of the south side when they redid Wayne Street and did the garment factory. Us being able to acquire that ground down there along the creek bed helped a lot, but this is going to be an integral piece of it. And I think will help complete I'm cautious when I say revitalization because the Grahams, you can take good care of your property so that we don't have a problem down there with the way you maintain things. This is just a business decision on your part to get out of that floodplain, I think. But this is a significant revitalization of the near downtown. And that coupled with what you've got planned, Mayor, coming up in another year or two on the east side with the Yandy Street and Madison Street projects really helps, I think, finalize what we've been trying to accomplish over the last few years, along with all the downtown facades and some of the streetscape and some of that, certainly the gateways and so forth. My question is there any chance, or I know you don't like to spend money, any chance that the Hughes is letting go of that other property?
Since you brought that up, I actually had a conversation late afternoon yesterday. I think there's a possibility that next meeting I can come back with a proposal for the sale barn. We'd have to really think about that with the Parks Department and EDF. I think that's a building that we could probably use for storage. With what we're trying to do down there for maintenance and the things that EDF has a lot of stuff that's stored here at the City Hall that really needs to be in the garage somewhere. So I think that building could be cleaned up and look pretty nice in that area. So I may be coming back with something next meeting with that.
Ultimately, this becomes part of the Parks Department there.
Yes, and you see Chip's here, because he's been in on the meetings, and Chip is, I think, pretty excited about it. Hasn't said you're not, so.
How long you been down there, Scott?
We've been down there since 1973.
I want to add to that too, since you brought that up. They were there since 1973, and then they did not flood until 2008. Then, since 2008, they flooded in December 2013, and then in July of 2017. I just want to tell you why I think some of that is. You know, I hear people say, well, why do you want to buy and help somebody? And we're talking about and everybody's in the floodplain that has nice businesses. We created that flood area because they started out, it was in a flood fringe. They changed the flood maps because of all the redevelopment that's been done. And that water has nowhere to go whenever you start building all this blacktop and all these buildings around. That water goes right to that hole. So we kind of created this flooding. They didn't do that on their own. And I know where there's a place, Brown's Tree Service. They probably filled in 10 foot of a ravine, an acre wide. stuff like that is what's caused that area to flood, so I just want to make a point there.
Well, I'll quote you on this. I'll give you credit for it. I think a couple of years ago, you stated that we have a 100-year flood every 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah, things are a little different right
But we're working on it, we're making things better, and I mean, it's obvious we've gotten better, but it's hard to stay ahead of all the progress that we're making with our drainage. So,
Bob, you asked how long we've been there. We've been in that location since '73, but this is our 90th year in business, and we've been in the downtown within about 6 blocks since 1929. So we're actually leaving our home, going to another part of town, with, you know.
now. Describe what part of town. I think it's Hamilton Street, if I.
Yeah, we'll be moving to the Hamilton Street area. It'll be between Hurricane and Forsyth on Hamilton, so it's just directly below the old Arvin's plant.
Where all the anhydrous tanks.
Yes, that, where the anhydrous tanks are is where the body shop, the new building, proposed building is set.
What's good for Franklin is you folks, like I said, have a good history of doing things the right way, and that's an end of town that could probably use a little investment. It's a good thing.
okay. I guess,
I'm just speaking for myself, but,
And there are a lot of elements to this amphitheater other than just the bandstand. There's public restrooms, there's picnic shelters, there's a connection to the trail on the south side. I mean, we really see this as being used more than just a few times a year for special events. This is something with the playground that I think will be an active park location almost every day of the year. So there are a lot of elements to this plan that help support the downtown as well.
I like that parking expansion because of the garment factory.
Yes.
That will help some of their events as well. Sounds good.
Which specific parcels are we talking about?
you know where Graham's Body Shop is? It's where his buildings are at, and behind that is a fenced-in area.
I've got a map here. That's the property. It's not the best map probably, but. This shows the outline.
I might point this out, it'll come up at some point anyway. This amount is gonna be over the appraised values that we've already had in appraisals.
It is, but, you know, all the other properties we bought were over the appraisal amount, and we're helping move 2 businesses, not 1 business. So,
Rob, you've stated before that the redevelopment commission has the ability to approve over the appraised values, given the fact that we determine that there's a good reason for doing so.
That's right.
The fact that the amphitheater potentially could be on this site, and it also helps complete the purchase of, I think, the purchase of those parcels down in there, substantially all of them.
if it is purchased, the amphitheater will be on this site, and it is the most important site, piece of property of all those in that area. So did you answer Paul's question, Kristen, were you able to pull something out of that?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a,
Maybe pull up the beacon and show me, I guess, which parcels we're talking about,
I
or
can do that.
1 or 2, or?
I guess it's easy for me to know this because I'm there. I took it for granted.
While she's looking at it, one thing that we'll talk about, assuming we move ahead with this, is the issue of the funding of it. That will be laid out in our meeting on the 28th.
It's also on the next, I've seen it's on the next agenda item today, about extending the TIF area. Rob can probably explain that later. Extending the TIF area off the 31 property it go in the Young's Creek Greenway Trail project. And while we're talking about that, well, Krista's got it, see what she's talking about, Paul.
So it's this property, this property, this property, and this property. There's 4 parcels.
4 parcels.
So where we are, we can continue to ask questions, and I would encourage us to do that at this time. Ultimately, where we want to get to today is action to authorize legal counsel to move ahead with preparing the documents so that we can have this ready to go in February.
Correct.
Because I know you're wanting, assuming it's approved, you'd like to expedite the closing on this.
Well, I think it's only fair that we can, so that the grants can get started on their new
On our
project.
project.
Second.
Okay. Christie, any questions? Okay. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Good. Let's see. That'll move us into the item H, which is expansion of the US 31 TIF district to include Young's Creek Greenway Trail redevelopment project area. Steve, or Mayor, you just run this down.
Yes, I'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit. Not only, what brought this up, we're getting ready to do a project with partnership with the state of Indiana on US 31. It's not finalized yet, but I know I've been working with the state, Mark's been working with the state for 2 years. Mayor McGinnis, before he left, he and Travis were working on this, and from day one, we've been working with the state on trying to better traffic flow on US 31 and better pedestrian traffic. Everybody's heard me talk about trails on both sides of US 31. And if we need trails or sidewalks, either or. On US 31, and lo and behold, 2 weeks ago, we had another pedestrian that was hit and killed on US 31 along the shoulder of the road. So it is a safety issue. And with the traffic pattern that's being proposed by the state, that corridor through US 31 is one of the most dangerous sections in the state of Indiana, accident-wise. So that is one reason they're working on that. They should be able in the next, I would say, in the next 30 days, have more drawings to go covered with that, to see what's being proposed. Like I said, we're still working with the state on an agreement there. So what that agreement is, we are to pay for the engineering firm to do the project. The state would pay for the work. It's about a $45 million project, and our part of it would be about $4 to $5 million. And we would have to bond to do that off of that TIF district on US 31. And at that same time, we would bring that bond right down into to do the work in the Young's Creek Trails area. So that is my thought on that. I talked to Rob about it. I don't know what we got to do to move forward on that. That's going to be with Rob's expertise to tell us what we need to do that, if we choose to do that. If we don't choose to do that, then the amphitheater could be stretched out over several years. I have talked to Peters about the funding mechanism. We actually can bond up to $10 million. I don't see us doing that, because I don't like the fact of bonding to the capacity of what the bond is. But today, we can bond up to $10 million on this TIF allocation area with the income that we got coming in now. So,
Based on where interest rates are and everything.
yeah, and we'll talk about that more the 28th with the council and RDC joint meeting. And Rob, Jeff Peters, our financial advisor, will be here to explain all that to us. So, any more questions for me?
Any questions of the mayor? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Krista, for joining on. So, good job.
Okay, Shell Building 2 project update. Krista, Rob, or Krista?
Yes, since the last meeting, Amazing Food and Beverages lawyer and I have gone over the purchase agreement, and it's in a condition that is acceptable to me, and I'll forward that to you this week and for you to review. At the same time, last month, I also advertised the RFP process, which had a deadline yesterday at 4 o'clock, and we received no bids. So we are now authorized to enter into the purchase agreement 30 days from now. So my proposal would be that at your February meeting, if the purchase agreement that you'll see this week is acceptable to you, you would be able to sign it. Other than that, I'm not aware of anything else occurring with respect to the project.
So we're really close at this point.
We're really close to having a purchase agreement, but the terms that they've requested include additional due diligence period through the spring, and so it's not, we're not very close.
It's taking longer. Yeah. So we just, I think that's more of an update, and what you need to bring in, we'll just put on the agenda. We'll get to take action.
Right, if we could just have the minutes show that we received no proposals by yesterday's deadline, and I think that's sufficient for now.
Okay. Anything else on that, Rob?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Just noted that we have on the agenda a joint meeting with the City Council and the Redevelopment Commission here on January 28th, which is a Monday night at 6 p.m. It's a special meeting. The intent of the meeting is for primarily for RDC folks, so we can kind of go through the various projects that we are committed to do, and we're at a point now where with all of the bond proceeds spent down and a lot of the other funds that we had over the years being used for other projects, we have to make sure we time these appropriately so that we match the revenues with the expenditures. What we don't want to do is put the city in a situation where it's overdrawn. No problems at all. We just want to make sure we know what revenues are coming in, and we want to make sure we know what expenses are going out so that we just manage that appropriately. So we felt that it would be good for not only us to see that, but to allow the city council to do it, because at some point, I'm speaking way off, at some point, there might be some things that the city will actually be involved in to possibly fund. I don't know. But most of this is all redevelopment commission oriented. It's a good overview. It is a meeting that is open to the public, and it will be a lot of good information because it will pretty much outline what is in the pipeline and what we've got planned for the next several years, including what you heard this morning regarding the Grand property and the amphitheater and that project down that way. But you'll also see the Andy Street, the roundabouts, possibly what's going on with 31 funding there. We won't get into the nuts and bolts of what's happening on 31. That's for a different meeting. But as far as funding the design board, we'll cover that. So mark your calendars, Monday, January 28th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. Probably take about an hour and a half, I would think, for the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think depending on how many questions people have, but I know every month we vaguely, I give you a briefing on the financial report, the US 31, all the next item agenda. Cash flow analysis is the biggest one, based on when our revenues come in and when projects are paid for. And so kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive into each of those reports, how to read them, what they mean, why we have the different reports, to try to basically plan for when projects are paid for versus when we receive our revenues, those kinds of things. So a little bit deeper into those reports and the projects that are listed there as well, so.
It's no secret, I've got a little bit of a leg issue, so for the next 4 reports, I'm right now very uncomfortable, so I'm going to stand in the corner. While Krista does this, but I promise I'll come back when my time.
All right, so the December financial report, this shows you, this is the beginning cash balance of the year. This shows you the receipts that we brought in for the year, the expenditures that we spent for 2018, and then our cash balance. So at the end of the year, this number always changes the remaining appropriations. So any projects that were appropriated, they've either been completed or encumbered into next year. And so this dollar amount has changed significantly and been cleaned up from the November report. So I just wanted to call attention to that. That number is significantly lower. Now we'll start, obviously like we did today, we'll start approving things, so that number is going to grow on your January report already. But this report shows you if all of the appropriations that we have approved on the books were spent in the month of December, our cash balance at the end of the year would be to $3.67 million. We all know that those appropriations aren't going to be spent. Some of those will take all of 2019 into 2020. And so that's why we do that other report, the cash flow analysis, that shows you when our revenues come in, and then when we actually expect to pay for those projects. And so I work with Mark every month to update that based on the timing of construction projects and things like that. And then we update projects that are approved on that cash flow, and then at the bottom are projects that are under consideration. So we can see and plan for, okay, if we approve this next project, that's kind of on the waiting list, this is what our cash flow will look like. And so that's how those two reports kind of work together to give us a clearer picture of our financial status. So I'm happy to answer any questions on either of those reports at this time. I will have those at that meeting on the 28th. We will have those printed out large. I know that they're very hard to read. They are attached to the agenda, so if you want to bring them up on your own, you can do that, but we have those for you. The next report is the US 31, so that shows you what was actually brought in this year for both the north and south allocation areas. So just as a reminder, there is a cluster of parcels on the north end of 31 that includes Meyer and the outlots surrounding Meyer. That is actually the allocation area where TIF increment is collected. And then there's another cluster of parcels we call the south allocation area. That includes the new Kroger and the strip mall and some of those outlots. And that is where that increment is collected. That TIF increment can be spent on any parcel that touches US 31. So there's a larger area where that money can be spent than where it's actually collected. And so this is the total of what was collected between those two allocation areas for this year. So $492,229 in tax increment from those two US 31 TIF allocation areas.
The income on that could go up as that continues to get built out too, is that correct?
There are a couple of outlots that have not been developed yet, and so this is likely to increase as those develop, but before any of those were built, we were collecting a couple $1,000s in farm taxes. That still goes to the general fund and all the other taxing entities, like that had never changed, but this is the increment of your taxes on those two allocation areas. There are several
Questions?
If there's no questions, I've updated, not much has changed. This is just your ending report for the TIF bond. Obviously, this has been completed. We still have a few projects that we get reimbursements on, and so I think there was like $3,000 spent in the month of December back out on projects from, that was originally paid for from there. So that's updated, and then your cash flow analysis, like I mentioned before, this shows you all the projects that have been approved and their resolution numbers and amounts, and then when we expect for those to actually be paid for. And then below is the projects under consideration, and those are projects that we're planning for. And this is a 3-year projection, so it looks at 19, 20, and 21 as far as our cash flow and our receipts. And so that's updated for you as well.
That takes care of all of the financial reports. Anything else, any of the members have to bring up at this time? I'll ask out in the public if anything's going on. Captain Rob Shields, is there anything going on with Franklin Heritage?
How did I become captain? That's what I want to know.
Andrew Luck and
Just getting ready for our big fundraiser of the year on February 2nd for the aircraft.
we had another successful year in. We had surgery too, I understand.
All successful.
Everybody doing all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Rosie, anything on the chamber?
Yeah, the Chambers is planning the award banquet on February 14th, features the Franklin State of the City address.
It's February.
February 14th is a Valentine's Day.
Harvard romance.
It is going to be
Yeah.
Anything on the JCDC?
I am actually meeting with Community Partnership this Friday. There's some developers interested in opportunity zones in the region, so it's a nice chance to go and pitch what we have here at Franklin Park. So, continuing interest in the city for sure.
Anybody else have anything? If not, we'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.